G'day boys, question 31 in the sports medicine option, and this is question 31A part 1, was outline the management of a soft tissue injury, and it was worth 3 marks. And I've sort of coloured the key terms here. It's the management, and we're looking at a soft tissue injury. So the management should have been an alarm bell for you to realise what area of the syllabus we're looking at. If we go and look at our syllabus, we'll see here that it says managing soft tissue injuries. In regards to this response, I was looking for, or we were looking for RISA. However, there was a couple of students who wrote about the immediate treatment of skin injuries. Again, I wouldn't say that they're wrong, but it's not as correct as the RISA would have been, and they've lacked it. And it's a lot harder to get the 3 full marks for that one as opposed to completing RISA. So just make sure that you're really clear, because we're talking there about skin injuries when we're looking, when we talk about immediate treatment, but we're mentioning some soft tissue injury. So, they could be like muscles, ligaments, tendons. That's what we're talking about with this injury. It's a lot harder to apply RISA to a laceration or a cut or an abrasion. So we're talking about RISA. We have a look at our sample answer here. And again, the student's written out the question. I've made the comment that you don't need to waste time writing out the questions. It's just going to eat up into your time. So if someone was to obtain a soft tissue injury such as a sprained ankle, the proper treatment would be RISA. So straight away he's identified what the key area is. He's given an example being an ankle. So he sprained an ankle. So we've got rest, ice, compression, elevation and referral. Again, set out nice and clearly. We can see all the areas there. For each of these areas which are correct, he's made specific mention to an ankle, to an ankle, to the ankle, to the ankle. All the way down we go through it to see the injury. This is what you needed to do in terms of your example for your answer. So you've said what it is, you state it, you give a little explanation of what it's about and relate it to a specific soft tissue injury. In this case was the ankle. And again, for me in this response, boys, I thought that the question was answered quite well by most students. Some boys failed to either mention an example or include something along the lines of a ligament or an ankle or some joint or some area of the body that could have been your example. In this case, your student's spoken about the ankle. You need to also understand, and this upset me and confused me a fair bit with boys, was that we're talking about managing soft tissue injuries. I had a number of students write about assessment of injuries. Toe taps. Toe taps is completely wrong. And again, that's just knowing your syllabus. The question asks for management of a soft tissue injury. Straight away, you should be talking about RISA. On a pleasing point, though, from a number of students, I liked some of the terminology that was used. Things along the lines of vasoconstriction, vasodilation, to limit the amount of blood getting to the area, to open up the blood vessels to allow more blood in for fresh nutrients. There was some really good terminology, which again shows your higher level of understanding. So these are some of the key words we could have tried to bring into this answer.